Hello, hello. Happy Sunday. Tell me what you're drinking. I don't often have a cup of tea, but when I do, I love one. So tonight I chose Earl Grey because that's what was in front of my face. But I quite enjoy it. So tell me what you're drinking and where you're tuning in from. Okay, tonight's live, or tonight's topic, I should say, tonight's cuppa is based on something somebody said to me during this last few days. And I was like, oh, yeah, that's still a big thing, right? And it was this person struggling with diets and different things and said to me, oh, there's no point in a gastric sleeve because most people put the weight back on. And I was like, wow, that's like a lot of people go into a gastric sleeve thinking it may not work. I certainly went in thinking it's not going to work for me because nothing else had worked. But I'm hearing more and more people just not choosing it as an option for them because it'll just come back on. And so I thought, I really, really want to speak to this. And this won't be for everybody, but those that need to hear it, this is for you. Okay. So, why does the weight come back on and how do you stop it if you're going to go in? So, if you're going to go in for a surgery like this that's altering your body by choice, you've got to go in with your eyes wide open, right? About how is this going to affect you? Is it going to help you in the long run? Is it going to cause problems in the long run? All of those sorts of things. So, when you go in, you've got to find out everything you can, as I did. I literally went through every research that I could think of. I went through the studies, I did all the things, and I wrote myself a list of the pros and cons of what happens when you have a gastric sleeve. You know, for a start, you shouldn't drink fizzy drinks afterwards because it can re-stretch your stomach. Definitely not drinking Earl Grey. Well, I love an Earl Grey, Judy. So I went in eyes wide open, knowing that I wouldn't be able to drink with my meals again. Didn't phase me because you shouldn't do that anyway. It dilutes your stomach juices, which means you haven't got enough enzymes to digest your food. So you shouldn't do that anyway. So I was like, well, that's not such a bad thing to deal with. You shouldn't have fizzy drinks. You know, you can get sick really easily if you have too much sugar all at once. There's like lots of things that I did all the research around and went, well, you know what? I'm willing to risk versus benefit, go down that road. And so one of the things I came across, so there's physical, mental, and emotional. You know me, I've got to cover all bases. And there's a very physical reason why a gastric sleeve can regrow, re-stretch, because it's an organ. So most organs in our body have the ability, like our liver, can regrow itself completely within 2 years, about 18 months. So the stomach can re-stretch because it got big in the first place because it kept getting full of food in most cases, right? Not all cases. That's not the reason for everybody, but in some cases. So physically, the physical reason why it may come back is when the surgeon does the sleeve, there's different sizes, and these are called bougie sizes. So not, oh, you know, it's a bougie dress at the shops. It's called a bougie size, and they start at, I think, 32 FR, which is called French units, is how they measure the size of the sleeve, right, of your new stomach. And I read, or maybe I found this doctor. So I found a lot of doctors when I was researching this. And he said that the research showed that people that had a bougie size of 40 and above were the majority of the people that if they put back on weight, they were in that ball game, they were in that ballpark. But most people that had a bougie size, certainly of 38 and less, tended not to put the weight back on. So there's that physiological starting point. So I went into my surgeon and I said, what's my bougie size going to be? And he was straight up. He goes, oh, I do 36. I was like, cool, we're good. Let's go. So that would be a starting physiological reason before you add in any way of eating or anything like that as to why you potentially may put weight back on afterwards. And that's not that everybody with that bigger bougie size puts weight back on, but the studies showed those that did put weight back on generally fell into that category. Okay. So then we've got the mental aspects of the gastric sleeve. There's this thing called the honeymoon period, which is like the first 12 months of after you've had your surgery, where you can't eat much at all. You tend to be very picky about your food from a point of view of the food noise is gone. So you're eating naturally better anyway. So you've got about 12 months of that time frame to literally reset your eating habits. If you don't reset it during those 12 months, then you will likely just go back to your old way of eating afterwards, which doesn't matter that you can eat less. One of the doctors I found said, you don't restretch your sleeve for a night from a night out. You don't restretch it because, on New Year's Eve, I went and had fish and chips. That's not how you restretch it. He says you restretch it 1 tablespoon at a time over time. It's like just having that one little bit too much every single day for a year. And then that's how you restretch it, because it just, your stomach gets used to you having that little bit more, that little bit more, that little bit more. And so before you know it, you've got that bigger capacity. Okay. So you've got 12 months mentally to reset and understand that this is a tool. It's not an answer. Weight loss surgery is not an answer to all your prayers. It's not this magic bullet. It is a tool that you have to continue to use. Right. So yeah. Now, emotionally, overeating can be an addiction. Again, I'm just speaking to the people that are in this situation because they overeat. I came across all this information. I was doing research on addictions and dopamine, and I found this research that explained that overeating causes you to have a dopamine response. For those people that overeat, know that they're overeating but can't help it, when you stretch your stomach out, the receptors that stretch out, it actually causes a dopamine response. And so it makes the person who has this addiction feel like, oh, I'm really safe now. I'm happy. I've got that hit. I know I'm good. I've got, like, my food is stuffed to the brim, right? It's a dopamine. It's a dopamine response, and it is an addiction. Okay, so it's like any other addiction that you need to get over. So any other addiction, you can't just have a little quick operation and go, I can give up alcohol now. Oh, I can, give up cigarettes now because I've had this little surgery, right? It gives you that space, that mental capacity for a year that you don't have much food noise, and that perhaps you can put in this another form of addiction that gives you a positive dopamine hit, some sort of, hobby or craft or something that helps you in that way. But if you don't utilize that and understand that it is a tool, it's not going to fix you forever without you doing anything or changing anything, then yes, it will fail straight up. Okay. So it's from a physical standpoint, it's that bougie size, making sure that the tube that's left. So my surgeon explained it to me that you've got, like, so this is the size of your stomach afterwards with, a smaller bougie side. So you've got this is it here, right? So this is my stomach here. All right. So it's pretty much the size of your 2 fingers. And so if you put that on your hand, that is the size of the amount of food that I can eat without stretching it out and making it bigger. And unless you're aware of that, you continuously, and I've seen in groups, I followed gastric sleeve groups for a really long time, and it blew my mind, because there would be people in them that were 6-8 weeks out of surgery, and I'm going to say only just, started eating again solid foods. Oh, I can eat 6 nuggets now. Oh no, I was able to eat 10 nuggets this time, only 2 weeks out, and they were really excited about and proud of the fact they'd had gastric sleeve surgery and they managed to eat 10 whole nuggets 2 weeks after being able to start on solid foods again. That right there shows you that mentally and emotionally, they don't understand, A, why they're eating so much, B, that those foods are not healthy, and C, that it's like you're not taking advantage of that honeymoon period after a gastric sleeve where it can fall off so easily. And that can be a dopamine response. So watching the weight fall is a dopamine hit because you get on the scales and, oh my God, you've not lost weight in your whole life or the last 30 years or 40 years or whatever, however long you've been dieting, and you see the scales go down. So that's a dopamine hit. The hardest part of gastric sleeve surgery, believe it or not, is when you get into maintenance. Okay. I had the same person say, oh, but it's easy for you now, you're in maintenance. I'm like, no, that's when it gets hard. You haven't got the dopamine hit of watching the scales go down. Now they're just the same. Now you're watching to make sure they don't go up. Now you're checking every day for fear that they will go back up. So it's the hard work is in the maintenance, and it is, if you've done the work physically, mentally, and emotionally during that time of losing the weight, during that first year, you've gotten help, from a psychiatrist, psychologist, a counselor, a kinesiologist. I'm a kinesiologist, and that's what I did for myself during that whole process. But you do you, whatever it is that, helps you with the inner work and helps you to go, no, I've got this tool that's helping me keep the food noise at bay while I figure out why I overeat, why I need to have that fullness in my stomach. That's what the trick is, right? It's doing that while this is going on so that when you get to maintenance phase, you've nailed it. You know what's what. You know what triggers you. You know why you ate the things you ate, or you overate the way you ate, whatever it is that your thing was or is. So that when you are in maintenance, you can find a way to stay there without it being such an issue. Now, most of you know here, if you've been hanging around for a while, I follow a carnivore-ish diet now. I can be lax with that now because I'm finding a happy medium where everything kind of stays the same. So great. The minute that changes, you can guarantee I change. But for the most part, I'm going to say 80% of the time, I eat meat. This morning I had eggs for breakfast, scrambled eggs. Oh, I had avocado on the side. If I've got avocado, I do. If I don't, I don't. It doesn't matter. But it's always eggs anyway. Some kind of meat for lunch. I had chicken breast that I keep in the fridge in containers that I cook up here and just keep it in the cupboard so that if I'm in the fridge, if I'm hungry, I can get it out, and that's lunch. Easy. The key with that sort of thing is to not think about it, right? So I've always got that sort of thing in the fridge ready to go. So now I am not only, hi Janine, how you going? So I am now using two tools. I'm using my gastric sleeve tool, and now I'm using carnivore tool when I need it. I used it for a long time to help me stay stable and to help me get into a better place. And I also, with eating high meat-based diet, because you can't eat much with a gastric sleeve, it keeps you satiated. It keeps me feeling full. It keeps me feel like, and it gives me extra calories that if I was eating plant-based like I used to back in the day, I would not be getting enough calories. I'd be always hungry. I'd be searching for all the things. And when you're always hungry and you're searching for some other food, that's when you find yourself going, maybe I'll just have that bread roll, or maybe I'll just have that, whatever it is. That's when you start. So I use two tools now to help me in my maintenance. I use the fact that I've had a gastric sleeve, and if I'm eating out or, we had friends visiting here in Bangkok recently. We went out for a night out with them, and because I can't drink and eat together, I got one drink. I got a limeade or something. And so I can only have as much of that little drink, and it wasn't alcoholic, but I could only have as much of that drink until the food came. Then there was no more drinking for me. So even if I wanted to overindulge in those times, I can't. And I'm okay with that That's a choice, and I'm happy that I made that choice because it has helped me with the lipedema. It has helped me get to where I am now. And while I still haven't gotten rid of the lipedema on my legs now, that will be the very last hurrah if I do it, because that's a big surgery. But so far, if you're watching my story, you'll know where I'm at now. Um, so having that tool of the weight loss surgery actually helps me, and I'm grateful for it. I'm like, I'm so glad I chose that because otherwise it would be really easy here. We get lots of visitors here, right? We've only been here 3 months, and so far there's been 2 lots that have, and there's another 2 lots coming in the next like couple of months. It would be so easy to overeat and go out and drink and that kind of thing. Go do all the sky bars. It would be super easy. So I'm really grateful that I had that because it keeps me on the straight and narrow in the times that I potentially wouldn't be. I can still have that one drink. That's okay. But the sleeve stops me from having another and another and another. Having said that, I have come across many times that food addiction, food amounts addiction, people swap that out for alcohol addiction after weight loss surgery because just drinking without eating goes down usually for most people not too bad. Funnily enough, it's those same people say I can't drink water. They can drink every other sugary drink, but they can't drink water. So not quite sure what that's about because I can drink the water, so I can't relate to that. So I haven't worked that one out. But if you don't deal with understanding that overeating to get those stretch receptors stretched is actually a dopamine hit, which means that's actually an addiction, that overeating bit, along with what you're eating is an addiction. So once you nail and understand that, you can be grateful that, oh, you know what? My sleeve stops me from, like the fish and chips on New Year's Eve at the Sky Bar we went to. I was able to eat maybe 3. They were massive, big steak fries. They were delicious. I would go back to that place just for the chips. That's the other thing about eating carnivore most of the time. You really enjoy that sort of thing when you have it. You appreciate it because you rarely have it. It's like, oh my God, this is like so good. But I was about able to eat maybe 4 of these big, and I said they're big fries, and I had maybe half of a piece of one of my pieces of cod. So that was all I could eat. The rest got handed to my husband. So even when you do eat out, I'm really grateful for this tool because it doesn't let me overeat the crap, right? The stuff that makes me inflamed, that would grow my lipedema, that kind of thing. So that's really, the thing. So what else? I've got a few things written down. People brag about how much they can eat afterwards. Oh, so if like me, likely you've got lipedema, you're here because you've got lipedema, it's very easy to eat less but still be eating all the processed foods, seed oils, the junk that can still grow lipedema. So if you're not tracking your lipedema, and often that doesn't show up on the scales directly, right? So that's why if you've been around a while, I measure my ankles consistently. And so if you're eating those sorts of foods and the scales are staying the same, just check your measurements because the lipedema fat could be coming back on if you're still eating the same way. So that's my goal for everybody. If you consider, I would absolutely recommend to anybody that has done every diet under the sun and still struggling with lipedema, with weight, with the whole situation, absolutely go and talk to somebody about weight loss surgery because there's different kinds of weight loss surgery as well. If you think you're the kind that you're not going to deal with your demons, you're not going to do the inner work to help you with your addictions, that kind of thing, there are other kinds of weight loss surgery that do not regrow, like the stomach doesn't regrow. There's the bypass, there's a duodenal switch, which involves moving parts of your body, but it doesn't have the possibility of a stomach regrowing, restretching. So there are other options. If you know you're in that space that everything you've done, you just don't get there, And I talked to this person about willpower. And he said, "Oh, I just don't have willpower." I'm like, nobody does. Humans don't have willpower. Nobody. This is like a fallacy. Nobody has willpower. You've got to put the tools in place and do the work, because nobody has willpower. What we do is, those of us that you look at and go, "Oh, yeah, but you can eat carnivore most of the time. I just don't have that willpower." I eat carnivore most of the time because I don't want the pain coming back of what happens when I eat the other things. So the pain for me is greater than the joy of the food. So when you get to that point where the pain of where you're at is greater than, eating less food or eating better food, that's when your mind starts to shift. Okay, so it's really, there's so many things you can do besides weight loss surgery. But if you're in that space like I was, and my space wasn't about amounts of food, and which is really tricky. So I really was like, "Oh, should I be doing this?" Because there's nothing wrong with, physically, apart from lipedema, but it worked. It worked, even though, because it changed the hormones in my body in some way, shape, or form, which obviously then just a switch was flicked and off we went. So don't discount it because you see people around you where the weight has come back on. Just be smart about it and be honest with yourself about it. That's the key. We're not honest with ourselves. It's okay to say, "Oh, I really struggle with not eating, this every day." Great. That's a starting point. That's why you do the inner work, so that you can, like, untangle. Why do you eat that every day? Why do you feel an addiction to eat that every day? Did you used to eat that every day with your grandma that passed away? Did you eat that every day with a long lost love that broke up with you and you never let go of it? There will be memories tied up with why you have the addiction that you have. So don't discount gastric sleeve as a tool because you see other people putting the weight back on. Doesn't mean to say that's going to happen for you, but you've got to go in eyes wide open, know what's going to happen, and know that if you don't do the inner work and use it as the tool that it is, then yeah, likely it will come back. Now, I'm not saying I won't have it come back, but I've done enough inner work. I understand my body. I know what my demons are, very happy to face them, that I am pretty confident I will keep it at bay. Will that always be the case? Who knows? We don't know what's around the corner. But I do want for you to have the healthiest life that you can. And the surgeon came into my hospital room the day after he performed the gastric sleeve on me. And he said, "Oh, good news, Kylie." He said, "I just read a study where people who've had weight loss surgery halve all risks of cancer." Halve it. There's no medication, supplement, anything on the market that can reduce your risk of all cancers by 50%. But gastric sleeve or weight loss surgery does. So use it for the tool that it is and for the benefits it can give you, but build on it, stack on it. I've got the gastric sleeve. I use carnivore or a high meat-based, animal-based diet, 80% of the time. It's always my go back. If I've had people here for a couple of days and I've eaten more things than I should have, it's straight back to carnivore the next meal. It's not like, "Oh yeah, next Monday I'll start." It's like the next meal, straight back to it. So I use both tools together because they're tools. You can have as many tools in your toolbox as you like, whatever works for you. So that's all I want to say about gastric sleeve and why it can fail, and why it possibly doesn't, and why you should consider it, because I know what it's like to have tried every diet under the sun. I spent 4 years in college at 40 becoming a naturopath, nutritionist, a clinical nutritionist, and herbalist to try and fix my weight. Right? I didn't know I had lipedema at the time. But I had done, when I say I had done every diet, and I had done every diet so strictly, it'd blow your mind. You're welcome. I know for myself, and that's why I went through with the sleeve, because I was like, hand on heart, I knew, didn't matter what other people thought or assumed about me, because people don't sleep in your shoes, right? I was like, you know what? I know I've done everything to the best of my ability. Whether this works for me or doesn't work for me, I've got nothing to lose at this point. So that's why I went forward with it. very grateful. But I didn't go forward thinking it was the answer to all my prayers. I continued with the healthy eating for my thyroid, for my lipedema. I continued changing things. I continued to learn things about my body, and I continue to do that now. You know, the amount of research I did to have the lower body lift that I had 6 weeks ago now, and it's looking very good. The scar's looking amazing. I'll do an update video in another couple of weeks, I suppose, whenever, you know, I can take all the photos or get happy to take all the photos, that kind of thing. So I continue to, how can I improve my body? How can I improve the lipedema? How can I stop the lipedema growing back? How can I make sure my weight stays off and still live a happy life, right? So that's where I'm always researching and always looking deeper into it. So I hope that helps for anybody out there that's not sure about gastric sleeve or any kind of weight loss surgery. It doesn't have to be gastric sleeve, and understands that, you know, if you know you've done everything, and don't hit yourself over the head about willpower. No such thing. We're humans, right? Just take that off the plate, okay? How do you get to the point where you can achieve this, right? Stop going, oh, I just don't have willpower. Forget that. Remove that from the table. How can we work with what you're at now, with where you're at now, with what you can do? That's the key. What can you do? All right. I'm going to leave you with that, and I will see you this time next Sunday, but you'll have a video drop this week as usual. All right. Happy Sunday. Bye.